I mean, that is where most good brands come out of from, right? Like you think, I say like a lot. That's going to be annoying when you edit this.
100%, me too.
I'm going to never listen to this because I say like a lot.
Try editing 99 episodes of yourself and then come back to me. Hello and welcome to Art Versations, a meditative conversation about the artistic process. I'm your host, Bree. Like the cheese, thank you for clicking on this show. How are you feeling? Capitalism got you down? Or is the art you are making and or consuming fueling your soul? It's always a fight between those two, isn't it? If you're a practicing creator, this episode features someone who could potentially be very useful to your practice. My guest today is an art director and creative consultant currently based in Toronto. Listeners, we will dive all the way into branding today, a topic that many artists, including myself, may avoid for various reasons. If you've ever wondered about how to market a creative product, how to understand an audience, or even just how to make a really engaging tagline, this episode has all the deliverables. If you're a longtime listener, you may have noticed that the podcast has a new logo. The artist you'll hear from today designed and helped me to curate the branding for the podcast. And now that we have yet to reach 100 episodes, we have upgraded the branding. Ding, ding. I really adore this artist's work, and I'm so grateful to him for solving all my marketing problems. I can highly recommend hiring him for your creative problems. His email's in the description. Big thank you to Frog in Hand for providing us with space to record. We recorded this episode inside of the Art Shelter, which is located off-grid in Mississauga. So, small audio note, you will be hearing some sounds of nature filtered into our conversation. Listener, let's go into the woods together. Have no fear. I am gifting you with your very own Swiss Army knife for survival. Here is an hour with Jan Marquez.
Is this the part where you talk about your sponsors and everything?
Who would be a sponsor? We should make
The Frog in Hand.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, you should thank them every beginning of the podcast.
Thank you for reminding me about that. How do you feel being in the shelter?
Good.
Have you been in a place like this before?
Yeah. The place where me and Bex went to for vacation.
Oh, that's right. It was like a chalet.
Yeah.
It was like glamping, maybe?
Yeah, glamping. There we go.
Do you feel like you're glamping right now?
Yeah, in a sense.
I feel very grateful that you're here.
Uh-huh.
Especially because we were trying to make this happen, and...
I'm a little shy guy.
I'm a little shy. I mean, that's fine.
Are we recording right now?
We are.
Oh, okay, good.
Is that cool?
Good. Yeah.
We can nurture that. I think there's like something about the silent artist that's really profound and like...
I'm really not silent, but I guess you can say that. I just don't like talking about myself anymore.
When did that change?
When you get older, you realize you're just like everybody else.
This feeling of not feeling unique enough.
No, I think everyone has their own gifts, strengths, and weaknesses, but I think, you're just human. And the universe is so huge. I'm getting really, what do you call this? Existential here?
Let's do it.
Nah, not really, but but that's the truth. Like, I feel like, I don't know.
I hear that. It's hard to find a voice that hasn't already been established by other people.
I mean, everything is just a product of something that has already been made, right?
100%. I'm of the belief that art is actually
There's no
dead.
original idea unless you're Socrates or what's his name?
Aristotle?
Like, yeah. Unless you're those guys.
Plato,
like,
yeah.
I wish I was born in that time and I could be
Right.
like, oh, I could have written that thought there. But I don't know.
Who is your like dream blunt rotation? Who would you want to like sit and chat with and share a blunt with?
Like ideas?
Sure.
Yeah, but see, I just fall asleep when I smoke, so I don't know if that's a good idea. Like I feel like I just fall asleep in a good. But if you're thinking about like discussion,
Yeah, like if you could sit
like a
with
good
Socrates.
discussion of all time, Jesus if he exists,
Okay, work.
Allah if he exists.
Yeah.
I don't know who to talk to.
Those are some big icons right there.
And that's a big icon right
Yeah.
there. Who has really inspired me?
Great question.
It's kind of sad because of like the whole Drake-Kendrick beef, but I think Kendrick is there. Kanye before he went a little crazy, probably. Music has really inspired me to become the artist because music is the one thing I can't do. But so I was always like thinking like, how do I supplement music? And I started with music videos.
Right.
So a lot of my discussions will probably be with musical artists. Again, like Kendrick, Frank Ocean.
Dope.
I don't know. I really like their art. They introduced me to other pieces of art, like Kanye, like introduced me to like people who paint. Why would you incorporate that in your album? Kendrick used samples from artists that are like insane. Like how do you even come across that shit? Coming from Compton. Frank Ocean's is just interesting considering the Boys Don't Cry book that he had, where it had all his inspirations and favorite movies, favorite music, and all that stuff. And it's just like, that's cool. Like, I'm into the same stuff as this guy is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'd just be really interesting to see what they know since they're older people. But yeah.
Like where their process started.
Yeah.
Especially
They're
if
also
it's,
very
like,
emotional people.
Right.
I think as an
Right.
artist, you're a very emotional person, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. But yeah.
I agree. Finding a way to actually access those emotions, I think, is the hardest part. Because we're told as people to like suppress.
Yeah,
a lot
but
of
I
it.
also find it really hard to work where there's like no sense of emotion or expression. Like I work in advertising agencies,
Yes.
and in order to kind of push myself in client work, I think of what am I really interested to at the moment, right? Say like something comes on. Right now I'm into Fortnite. How can I connect Fortnite with, say, this banking operation?
Yeah,
like that is
totally.
how my brain works.
Yeah. I mean, you're rolling
And
your eyes,
somehow,
but I get it.
somehow it's like, okay, that doesn't really make sense. And then probably by like the golden hour, I'll figure out, oh yeah, like that creates a story right there. I mean, I can't come up with something at the top of my head right now, but
No,
that's how I come up with ideas. I really just dive into what I'm into at the moment.
I think that's beautiful.
You just break things down and yeah.
I think that's an important part of, like you said, trying to find connections. How does a banking company actually relate to Fortnite? Like, how do we put those together? Like, that's the goal in terms of finding how you want to brand something, I guess.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking of banking and Fortnite. How do you actually connect those two things
Let's
together?
do it.
Well, that's an interesting thing,
Let's
right?
brainstorm.
I don't know. You have different skins on Fortnite, the same way banking people have different clients.
There you go. There's something starting.
I don't know. That's really grade 1 level thinking, though.
But it's like an essential part of, I think, our cultural landscape. Like, advertisements are in everything.
Yeah. I mean, that's where most of the creative people land into after a while, right? Like, I feel like.
Is there, because you mentioned Frank Ocean, artists, musicians who can access their emotions and like aren't afraid to be sensitive. Is there that same process in advertising? I feel like no.
No, but again, like, I feel like personally, like, that's what I do because that's where I find myself in terms of process doing really well. I mean, obviously, like, there is a structure and process of how to kind of work with clients and showcasing them. Okay, this is the first stage, second stage, third stage, yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, it's like, in terms of creative thinking, like, I feel like that's how I access most of it. Like, you just think emotionally, like, I mean, that is where most good brands come out from, right? Like,
Yeah.
like you think, I say like a lot. That's going to be annoying when you edit this.
100% me too.
I'm going to never listen to this because I say like a lot.
Try editing 99 episodes of yourself and then come back to me.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
No, I mean, I'm just thinking about the ability to find like emotional truth in something like the advertising of a very watered down product.
I guess I'll give you an example. Like,
Yeah.
I was working with and wanted their own podcast, and they wanted it to have a vibe of a cantina, which is historically a Latin bar, I guess, right? Like where you kind of, people go there after work on a Friday night, and it's lively, and you guys all kind of talk about your days with your friends and even strangers and whatnot. So you kind of create this whole world of, okay, where would other people kind of meet like that? So you go into your emotion side, and it's like, when are you happiest with your friends? Yada, yada, yada. And then that's where you put in the photos, yada, yada, yada. Like, how is this supposed to look like? And then essentially the final product will be one photo.
All that work for one photo. Eh?
Yeah, but there's the explanation about it, right? And if people were to ask, like, why is this that? You have a whole bunch of reasons as to why it is that. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes sense because it sounds like you're trying to create an experience out of a two-dimensional photo.
Yeah. So in advertising, they teach you, or they tell you, you want to create an experience for the audience
Right.
that connects. Otherwise, what are you really creating? You're just creating an image with text. So when it comes to advertising, I try to figure out, this is the data that they gave us based on what their audience like to consume, and then you kind of start putting yourself in the position of that type of audience. They like these types of things, and then you kind of break it down to the most simple thing as possible, which is crazy. They give you the answer, then you dig deep into it, and then you come to the same conclusion, but now you have a much better understanding of why that is, and then you just put it all together again. Yeah, it's how well do you understand your audience, connecting with their likes and dislikes at the same time, and just making sure that there's more of their likes than dislikes.
Right.
That's how it goes, I guess.
It's simple,
Yeah.
but it is a key aspect of connecting to audiences and marketing a product.
I'm sorry if I'm like kind of going all over the place. It's just my ADHD brain.
Hey, not a problem at all. This is a podcast. We can go on tangents. For me, what's coming up is I struggle a lot with finding the dislikes and likes of an audience because I just want to cater to everyone. And so I'll try to create something that is so diluted, has no emotion, has not actual connection to one audience. It has like a goal of trying to connect everyone.
So that's the thing they teach you in advertising, is that if you're creating a product that's for everyone, then you're really creating a product for no one.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
you always want to know, what's the biggest problem?
Right.
You start off with what's the biggest problem. Now, as someone who works in advertising, you're creating more of a solution. When I used to look for jobs or anything as a creative, it's like, what is your problem? And how can I solve it? And the more you look at yourself less as a creative and more as a problem solver, then it's much easier to kind of get to a good working space. To the core, if you're a problem solver, you are probably more likely to succeed in that. Like, if you're working with people who are just creating things for whatever reason, I guess, like, you want to solve a problem in the world, right? Like that's what good products are, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's solving, like, the best tools are things that actually feel like, for example, like a knife should feel like a part of your body.
Cool. I'm with you. There are a lot of problems in the world. And so the ability to
Solve.
And then I think the next step is showing an audience this is exactly what you need. And not convincing or persuading, but offering a knife to fix all of their cutting cheese needs.
Yeah.
Right? Like that, I think, as an advertiser is where you want to bridge that gap of literally saying, here's the thing that someone needs and they don't know about it yet. How can I make them aware of it?
Like a good tool, and you're supposed to be a tool in terms of problem solving. A good tool is something that just feels like a part of your body already. That's what a chef says about a knife. I like to think of it as like a mouse in terms of computer.
Yeah.
Is probably one of the things that literally feels like it's a part of your body, right? Because it goes wherever you want it to go, the way you want it to go. So that's what a good tool is. And what you want to be is a good knife or a good mouse, I guess.
Everything goes back to the knife or the mouse.
Yeah.
And the mouse, like, is the shape of the hand. Like, it's, like you said, is a part of the body. It connects to the pointer finger and the middle finger to click. Like, all of that then sends into the computer in seamless effect, rather than, like, I guess what came before the mouse.
Typewriters didn't have a mouse.
Typewriters, right. Yeah.
But typewriters are kind of the same types of tool, right? Like, it inputs the data. I mean, can you really say letters are data? Actually, completely side note, like,
Cool.
First computer was actually made by a woman.
Get out of here.
It is.
Did we just solve feminism?
No, but it's true. I don't know why I said that, but I remember reading something about computers at the time. But it's really interesting.
Cool. That woman was like, here's a problem I'm about to solve.
Technically, she is the first one. Someone else took her studies and then made it into what it is now.
Of course.
But
Typical. So there's a tool that needs to be examined and then shown as essential to someone's life, to someone's experience, to someone's work.
And that is capitalism.
That is capitalism. And so your job as the advertiser creator, is that sort of how, graphic designer, what do you call yourself? Creative consultant?
My bosses used to call me a jack of all trades because I can do a bunch of things. So that is it. But I'm also a master of none because I'm not the best at all of these things.
No one is.
Yeah, I like jack of all trades. Right? I do a lot of different things.
Finding your voice as an artist is like knowing what you are good at, which is being good at a lot of things.
Yeah.
That's like a Swiss Army knife. That's like...
Yeah, part of my portfolio actually shows a Swiss Army knife, and that's what I am.
Okay,
like,
I see that.
Like, I'm in your pocket. I'll get the job done.
Right. Better than having no scissors or no knives.
Yeah. Exactly.
So when a person who's trying to sell a product is in the woods, you're the tool for survival.
I guess that is who I am.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's like an essential part of the process, I think. It certainly has been for me. We've been working on this branding for almost like a year and a half, maybe 2 years now.
Yeah.
And before that, I'll be super honest and say that it was like me using, not even Canva at the time. I think I was using this thing called Be Funky, which was like
nice.
A photo editor.
Nice.
Like
Be
website.
Funky.
Right. And I had no idea what I was doing, and I was just trying to like get the information out in a very bland way. And so I remember like we had a chat between the two of us in like June of 2021 or something. And I remember you like asking me these very essential questions to the branding of the podcast. What is the story?
Yeah. I think the most important things you ask is, what is the story?
Yeah.
How are you different from just another podcast? And if you were a completely different product, how would you see yourself as, right?
Yes.
Like, do you see yourself as Mercedes or do you see yourself as a Honda? And there's no problem with being a Honda versus a Mercedes.
Right.
It's just which audience are you catering to? And a lot of people have a hard time actually answering that question.
Exactly.
Especially for people who are like the first time they're creating something.
Yeah.
They're like, I want to be this, I want to be this, and I want to cater to everyone. And it's like you're really not catering to everyone at that point. You want a core audience at first, right? Before you kind of get there.
And I was
like McDonald's you could say caters to everyone, but really their branding is joyful. It's for kids.
It's like the sunshine at the end of a gray long day when the family can just eat McDonald's.
Exactly.
And that is like more or less one of the most brilliant marketing ploys that
you know that M anywhere you see it, right?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, like it or not, in terms of their moral ethics, it's a brilliant marketing campaign.
Yeah.
It works on all levels. Mm-hmm. So for me, I was sitting there in my process of trying to craft this podcast for whatever it is, and I was so unaware of the answers to those questions. Mm-hmm. Hadn't even thought about it once because I wasn't asked. Mm-hmm. And I was, as an outsider of advertising, I have no idea about it. I was just like trying to copy or emulate businesses like McDonald's or like other podcasts that I had seen, like Armchair Expert or something, right?
Yeah.
So I needed someone to sit me down and like it was kind of like having a sounding board. Like I was able to just talk it through with you, and then all of a sudden you started typing and it all came out in this much more elaborate, eloquent way.
It's what a copywriter does. I'm not a copywriter, but that's what a copywriter usually does.
Right.
Not the best at it, but I'll do my best.
I'm
a jack of all trades.
Exactly. Yeah. I needed that Swiss Army knife because I was in the woods.
Yeah.
So we came up with this, well, it was mostly you, but we ended up with this phrase that this podcast is a meditative conversation about the artistic process.
Yeah.
And for me, like, that line was everything I needed. It was like it was the big M. Like, I needed something to describe what this podcast, and so I really appreciate that.
No problem.
It was something I wouldn't have been able to come up with on my own.
Just work. I don't see now. When people compliment my work, I don't know what to say. So,
well, I'm gonna keep gassing you up. But also, I wanted to just speak on like this idea of like a brainstorm. Like it's very simple.
Yeah.
But the collaboration of 2 minds, 3 minds, a whole team of people is really like where the ideas start to actually cultivate. Mm-hmm. Have you ever worked with someone where that like energy, that like brainstorming brings you to a whole another level of creation?
I don't know. Working in advertising has taught me like brainstorming should be kept in a specific amount of time. Like at the same time, you want to be as open as possible. But you don't want to spend too much time brainstorming, otherwise there's just way too many ideas, similar to too many cooks in the kitchen, right? What I've learned is let's throw all the ideas we want, bad, good, whatever, right away in probably the first 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. Next 15 minutes should be choosing, okay, what could actually work out of all of these? And you start playing around with them. And then hopefully in the next hour you figure out what's actually good, and then you move on, right? That's actually helped a lot in terms of narrowing things down.
Cool.
Where you actually create a specific amount of time in terms of figuring out or brainstorming. Because again, when I used to just do things on my own, I would spend so much time. It's like, oh, that'd be great if we did this now and this and that. But you want a concrete plan, otherwise things are just never gonna get done.
I hear that. Do you find there are people in your life who narrow that down easily than others?
Definitely my old bosses. They do that really well. They have more experience. Also, experience plays a lot of part into it, right? Like,
yes.
When you have worked a lot, you realize everything kind of falls under the same thing, and it's like being a chef. You're just, yes, it's a different dish, but it's the same process over and over. It's repetition, and repetition eventually leads to perfection. Jiro dreams of sushi. Like Jiro will work on fucking sushi, the same process over and over and over again. And it's like every day you wake up, you pick out the fish, you cut the fish, whatever, right? Like it's repetition is key. You kind of just get better over time. Obviously some things aren't always the same and you have to break some rules. But you can't really break a rule unless you really know why you're breaking that rule, right?
I hear that.
And I think that's where experience comes in. It's like, you'll just know.
Mm-hmm. There's like a technique that comes with it.
Yeah.
In the repetition of doing it. You're training the body, the brain. I mean, it's the same with dance, right? Mm-hmm. you know, I know you have a background in dance. Like, you understand the, like, practice of something.
Yeah. No. See, now that is a hard part for me because I can dance, but I cannot follow choreography.
And that's okay, because I truly think...
and that's where repetition comes in.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And, like, you know, dance is such a, like, intangible thing. Who's to say something is better than the other? But I think when it comes to creating an image, creating a product that's going to be final, and it doesn't really have an ephemeral, like, quality to it, like, it's going to post and it's going to be up on a website or on TV or something, like, you have to make it, and you have to have the technique to make it last permanently.
Yeah.
And that's, that repetition of understanding what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. 10,000 hours, right?
Yeah.
You need to spend 10,000 hours on something before you can be really good at it.
Right. So when you're working with people who are more experienced, like your old bosses, like that,
they've definitely put their 10,000 hours in.
Totally, yeah.
I don't know if I have, but I'm trying to get there. Maybe I'm at like 5,000 hours.
Okay. Better than zero.
Better than zero. Yeah.
And I think just speaking on, like, the idea of collaboration, I feel like that's a really important part of your process, especially when you're having to problem solve for people who you maybe don't meet.
Yeah. I don't like working where it's just one person does everything and you kind of just do it.
Right.
I like it when you're given something and you're allowed to add more onto it. My old bosses kind of really nurtured me in that, in a sense that, okay, this is the brief, this is what you're supposed to do, or this is what will make the clients happy, but you can go ahead and you can go ahead and expand it as much as you want, right? Like, I like working in that sense of collaboration rather than just having someone kind of say, this is what needs to be done, and do it this specific way.
Does that process feel like homework? Like an assignment or something?
No, in fact, that gets me paid more easily, and
Sure.
I don't mind it, but at the same time...
But it's diluted.
It's like...
It's boring.
It's boring.
100%.
It's like, you're paying me good money, but at the same time, I feel like I'm not putting that much input into it, which I guess is fine. I mean, that's how the world works. But it's just like, this is so boring, man. But thanks for the money.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. And I think, like, finding a balance of those projects with the more creative, collaborative ones.
Yeah.
Is that where you want to head?
Yeah, I like working, from my experience, I've learned that I really enjoy projects where you are completely invested into it, and it doesn't matter if you're getting paid more or less. It's just, you're so much more invested into it that it's fun, versus, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I used to work 60 hours, like, per week, and I was getting good money, but at the same time, I was like, this is not it.
Yeah.
This is not worth it.
Ooh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that.
It's because, like, you're working all this time, and yeah, I'm getting paid good, but none of it is making me think. Like, I am literally just a machine doing what I'm told to.
Fucking
right?
gross.
And that's fine. But at some point, you start to lose actual sense of creativity. Okay, let me put this shape into this box. Or let me put this text into this box. And I have to do that, like, probably like 100 times. Where it's, sure, it's repetition. Gives me some ammo in there. But no, I can't do it. And that's when I started to really look for jobs that are more interesting, in a sense that, okay, I'm really invested in this project, let me do it, right? Or I'll find projects that, even if they seem like an easy task, but I'll find a way to inspire myself, right? Yeah. So there's also projects like that where it's like, okay, this is what the client wants. But if the client is good and they're, like, open to ideas, then sure, yeah, like, I'll take it, because at least you're letting me think outside the box, right? And that's the most important part, I think. Being able to think outside the box in terms of collaboration, like working with clients that are open to, again, ideas outside of what they already have, then yeah. Right.
I totally hear that. As an Aquarius, I love thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
That's where I thrive.
Yeah.
If I am put inside of these parameters where I can't go
Yeah.
outside of what they want, I get restricted. I get frustrated in how uninspired I am.
Mm-hmm. And now it's like, what am I really doing here? Like,
Right.
am I creating something? Like, am I really creating something here, or am I just repeating things that have already been done? Right.
1000%. I totally relate to that.
Yeah.
And it's fine. It's something to do, and usually that's where the money is. Funny enough, the like
As a creative,
uninspired.
I feel like a lot of creatives are like that, or maybe we're just perpetuating it. I don't know, right? I
Well-
feel like it's also up to the artist to make sure they enjoy what they're coming. Like
Yes,
everything that
that's
comes
true.
to you is not
Yeah.
always going to be like.
That's true.
Everything that comes to you is not always going to be fun.
Totally.
It's also up to you to make it fun, right? If a client is just like complete hard on, like, do this, do that, okay, I'll do it, sure. I'll do it literally in like way shorter time than you think, but that is what you're paying me for. The fact that I can do it super quickly, right? But there's also like a part of you that has to be like motivated to just try.
100%.
That's just
to
how
me-
the world works.
Right. And I think the world is maybe different from capitalism. Like there could be a separation where we could say like in this beautiful world of humans who have so many creative ideas and inspirations everywhere and nature is wonderful and doesn't have any parameters to it. There could be this beautiful world where creativity can thrive without having to dilute the process of an artist towards capitalism. Do you know what I mean?
Too many big words. I didn't graduate university.
Fun is fun, and money is not fun. Money cannot be fun sometimes.
Yeah, I've been unemployed for the last year.
Tell me about that.
So
How does
I
that
think
feel?
I've learned to just enjoy what comes,
Woo!
right?
Yes.
So there's that, where it's like, I don't even care about like the money anymore. It's more so, am I gonna be able to live how I want to live?
Yeah.
Like that's all that matters, right? I guess that's it.
I love that. I think that's a total reframing.
At some point, I'm gonna want to do the hard part where I'm just gonna have to eat whatever the world gives me,
Sure.
because I'm gonna want bigger things. Like I'd want a house at some point,
Yeah.
or like I'd want a
And you
family.
deserve
somewhere.
to have,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
shelter
So
and- yeah.
that when that comes, I'll be there. But I think for now, I'm just happy with being able to do what I can.
I want to go back to something that you said about the responsibility of an artist to make the process fun and playful and creative.
Yeah.
Do you have any like tools or games that you play with yourself, or like do you distract yourself from the like boring, monotonous stuff with like something else? Do you listen to Kendrick Lamar while you create?
Music is good. Music.
Yeah.
Music. My mom says, like, if you listen to music while you do repetitive things, generally you'll be happier. I've noticed that actually works. I know people do it, and they don't notice that consciously, but it's there. In terms of actually inspiring myself to do something, it's like what I find is if there's something that I just watched that was like really interesting, I'll dig deep into it and really learn the backstory. Actually, you know what? Let's go back to music.
Yeah.
So there's Rap Genius. When I was younger, I would always go into Rap Genius and, okay, what's the backstory behind this line? Bar for bar, like from different rappers or
Yeah.
different singers, right? And that's where I will learn about Dostoevsky. I'm like, how the fuck does this rapper connect fucking Dostoevsky
Yeah.
with a one-line,
Totally.
with a one-liner?
Right.
Or they'll start mentioning samples from the fucking 50s, and then that specific sample from the 50s will have a specific history as to what, like, historical importance to it as to why they even put it in there. So to me, that's how I make work interesting. Like, I had this one client where it was literally just creating posters for a specific event, right? And it was very local. It was about a local community. And then I went deep into urban planning. And I started looking into architecture and how cities were built. I started talking to my architecture friends. And there was this thing called garden cities. Garden cities are just all the main cities in the middle, and then you have these little villages outside of it. Think of Toronto, main GTA, and then you have Scarborough and North York, yada yada, around it. And say like those tiny villages will be where most people will have like kind of this more community vibe while they travel to the middle for work. Anyways, like the idea is like, again, whatever is around me and whatever I can kind of dig deep into, like, I will go into it. And that's how I find inspiration in terms of making things fun. And when I kind of show that to the client, they start to realize it's like, this guy went into so much research for something that doesn't they didn't start with this idea, but now they kind of connect to each other.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. And I think that's where I kind of going back to what we were talking about. It's like, how do you connect Fortnite with banking? Well, there you go. Like, kind of, there's always a way to connect these two things, what the client wants to what I am currently living in. And that's how I make things fun.
Yeah. And
I'm sure everybody has their own process in terms of how they make things fun. But to me, that is what I do. Like, I could go into it as like, okay, banking. Okay, Fortnite, banking, Fortnite. Fortnite is about teamwork. So, okay, how does teamwork relate to banking? I don't know. But that is where I kind of think. My mind is weird, and I like that weirdness about my thinking.
I think it's a strength as a creative. It sounds like your capacity for curiosity is profound. And I mean that in the best way, where you are curious about something and you'll dig deeper into that curiosity, which then leads to further curiosity about another path. And it's like you're like a groundhog, like finding like gold at the bottom of the soil.
Yeah.
Like, and then you bring that gold back up to the surface and you're like, hey, person I'm working for, I found gold.
Yeah.
But they don't get to see that extra work that you do.
Yeah. Sorry, going back to the garden cities.
Yeah.
What that poster ended up looking like was how gardens, the actual urban planning of the cities look like. So it would be a circle in the middle, and you would have all these branches out to the other tiny villages. So it would essentially look like an asterisk. But the whole idea was everyone was coming to this specific circle, and that was the idea. How do you put meaning into an asterisk? Well, garden cities is how you put meaning into an asterisk, as to how people can come together into one place. And that's what that poster was. But I was really into urban planning at that time because I was playing City Skylines. And City Skylines is where you kind of build your own city and see, okay, how do you fix traffic in a city? How do you fix education in a city? How do you fix taxes in a city? It's stuff like that. But that is how my mind works. Like, okay, a client wants a poster for their event, and I choose, okay, well, I'm playing cities right now. How can I connect urban planning with a poster for a music event?
Okay.
So that is my thought process.
It's your superpower. Because, like, people who work for urban planning, people who work for the city, banks, that's not their skill set. Their skill set is not money and numbers and architecture, which can be creative, I should say. But I understand what you mean by jack of all trades now. Because you have to be flexible. You have to be malleable in your thought process, it sounds like.
I'm a problem solver. That's how I gotta sell myself. That's what a YouTube video told me to do. Right. Sell yourself as a problem solver and not as a creative. There you go.
That's a great tagline.
Yeah. YouTube. Everything I've learned is YouTube. That is how I survived dropping out of university. YouTube.
YouTube is
YouTube and Google.
It's a remarkable place, the internet.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen those videos of this person who will like take two concepts, like they'll take Marilyn Monroe and a cheeseburger, and they'll try to connect those two Wikipedia pages by just clicking on references inside?
That's funny.
And they can do it in like 30 seconds.
Okay, no, that is difficult, but that is interesting.
Right?
But I feel like that's how exactly my brain works.
Yeah. You're just like going through the encyclopedia with the internet as your
like if
resource.
I got like, I don't know, who's an artist? Taylor Swift. If Taylor Swift came and was like, I want a thing, I'm gonna connect it with a fucking water bottle.
Sure.
Like that's my plan.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make your concert like a water bottle.
Okay.
How's that gonna work? Well, I don't know. Maybe because everyone has a water bottle, and some are plastic, and some is like reusable, and that's how people. There's different types. I'm kidding. I don't know.
No, but I get it.
I'm kind of going on a tangent, but yeah.
That's an example of like those pathways of trying to connect things.
Yeah.
It's a super important skill in our world.
I guess.
In our idealized world.
What's the opposite of a narcissist?
An empath?
Okay,
a people
maybe
pleaser?
not that. Maybe not that.
I don't know.
Maybe I am a people pleaser.
It's okay, me too.
You need some ego, though. You need some ego.
Right.
What's his name? Joey Diaz.
Joey Diaz!
Joey Diaz says, ego, you need ego.
Uh-huh.
You need your ego at some point to show up.
Yes.
Like, especially when you're working, you need that ego to come up. But, like, when you're done performing, you want to turn that ego down.
Right.
But when you're performing, like, stand-up, like he says, like, when he performs stand-up, I bring my ego all the way to the fucking top. And then when it's done, it's like, that's when you turn it down. Otherwise, you'll look like an idiot.
Right. Totally. This is what I've been practicing in my stand-up classes. Like, can I take center stage and hold attention?
Like, how do you become a narcissist for five minutes?
And then repress.
Yeah.
Suppress it down. Remember that you're also a human.
Yeah.
You're not top shit.
Yeah.
That jump is like a very confusing thing. I'm still not good at it, obviously, but like,
people who know when to turn it on and turn it off are probably at the top. Like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan will turn it on when he wants to turn it on.
Totally.
Like
when it's required.
Yeah.
Like in a basketball game, when you have to perform, you have to execute properly. Or like a singer making an album.
Yeah. Not even like performing in a concert for 30 days in a fucking row and like the same routine every time. That's tough. A lot of people think being a musical artist is easy, but it's not. It's really not.
Mm-hmm. So there's this overarching idea that your job, your task as problem solver, jack of all trades, is to connect product with audience. Mm-hmm. In the finding of that gap, you are also connecting the idea of the product with other external ideas in our world, and trying to narrow it down to one experience, one feeling, or many, but like inside of a container as such. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You've just summarized
again.
what I feel or how I work in one sentence, one paragraph.
But overall, fun. Let's make it fun.
Yeah. I try to make my work fun now. I try not to stress over it. Otherwise, I'm just gonna go in a hole.
Yes. Right.
Right.
And it's also like a very isolating thing that you have to do on your own. And so when you can collaborate with people, like, do you feel more hopeful about finding a way out of that hole? Like when you collaborate, when you're not alone, you're in the hole with other people. Do you get out of the hole together?
Yeah. My bosses do a great job. Like, my old bosses did a great job of, like, really, like, if I'm in trouble, like, I'm like, yo, I don't know what to do with this thing.
Right.
They'll be like, why don't you do this?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, yo, you guys are so quick. And sometimes it's just a different pair of eyes that will help, right? Like, now that I'm freelancing, it's like, I kind of just ask my friends, like, yo, what do you think of this? Like, is this good? Should I spend more time on it? Or is it actually good where it's at? Or, yo, what should I change in here? What should I spend more time on? Is it thinking, or is it the actual, like, designing of it? I don't know.
And you were that for me.
No, yeah.
Not to get all sappy. But I needed that. I needed that specific. So let's talk about it. So the podcast is rebranding, not necessarily in terms of the language that we're using, but the images.
Yeah, I just wanted it to be more playful,
yeah.
and to be more clean. I don't know how else to describe clean, but I feel like the first one was rushed, or I rushed it.
Cool.
And it wasn't where it should be at, and it, in turn, it made it harder for you to kind of follow those rules that needed to be done, but yeah, I'm here. That is all I'm trying to do. I was just trying to clean up my old mess.
I
Really.
never
It has
found
nothing to do. It has nothing to do with you. Like, to me,
I never found it to be a mess at all.
I know it doesn't. It wasn't a mess to you because to you, you're not. We work differently. Like,
Yeah,
I'm a
totally.
designer. You're not a designer.
I
Like,
know.
to me,
I don't
I'm
know
just
shit.
more nitpicky about it.
Sure.
Right. So, to me, it's just me. It's more of a personal thing where it's like I want to prove to myself like I can do this.
And time has passed. It's been
Yeah.
like 2 years since the original
Yeah.
logo was made. And before that, it was like a picture of me. And it was stupid. Anyways, so I'm very excited about it. And I think there's a level of like upgrading that I feel I've reached because I'm now at 100 episodes.
Nice. Yay.
You know what I mean? So like celebrating that. Like with that, there's like time has passed. I'm not at episode 1. So I needed that cleaning up, that polishing,
I guess.
you know?
That's one way of connecting it, right? Right?
Making
That's a good way.
connections.
It's a great way of connecting.
It's what I do as a podcast host. I connect ideas. And then I think also I was really cognizant of the idea that there's so many podcasts out there now that if I'm not consistently rebranding, reshifting, realizing the idea of what this podcast is, then it's just going to fade into the other stupid podcasts out there. So it felt right that we could change the font. That's a huge thing, I think, for me.
We didn't
font
change
is different.
Yeah, the fonts are different, but I think it realigns things really well.
I'm very grateful for that.
Still working on it, so
That's
I can't
fine.
say much about it. But work in progress right now, but hopefully it's good.
Always a work in progress for
Yeah.
anything.
That is life.
That is life. We're back to existentialism. Great.
Yeah.
a great way to finish.
You know what? Now that you've mentioned that, I think
Yeah.
a lot of my work is existentialism.
There's such a link between art and existentialism. Of
I
course.
think all my work is based off of that. Just like, how do you? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. But I think the process of trying to figure it out is the goal.
How do you make life easier? As a problem solver, that's the very first question you want to ask.
Totally. Jan, this was a really lovely chat.
Nice.
I am very grateful. I'm very excited to launch the rebranding. I also wanted to ask you if there's anything you would like to promote or that you are curious about that you want to get out into the world so that people can work with you.
If you guys want to work with me, just message Bree. That's it.
Message me.
That's really it.
Am I your agent now?
Yeah. That's it. Other than that, I don't really know what to say. I'm a simple guy.
Don't message me. Do not. Message for Jan. What about like email? Is that best?
jam@janmarquez.ca.
I will link that below.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm not your agent, or else I'm going to have to take 10%.
Yeah. Feel free to do so. I work for fun, not for money. No, I'm kidding. I love money. I love money. Especially easy money.
I feel like this whole podcast we've been like teetering on the balance between capitalism
And working for fun. I know. But
It's
I mean, who
both.
doesn't love money?
Exactly. And on that note, thanks, Jan. This was so fun.
No problem. Goodbye. Doot-de-la-doot-doo. Doot-doo. Nargor.
Thank you so much for listening to Art Versations podcast. This podcast is crafted out of passionate community drive, and it only continues to grow with every bit of support. If you like what you heard, it would help if you took 2 minutes to leave a review. Learn more about the featured guests on the podcast Instagram @ArtVersationsPod. And don't forget to follow so you're up to date for the newest episodes. Big shout out to Jan Marquez for the marketing and branding creation of the pod. And cheers to you, listener. Till next time.